Towering baobab trees, with their wide trunks and sprawling branches, stand like ancient guardians of the land, their roots reaching deep into the rich, red earth. The warm breeze rustles through fields of tall grass, whispering the secrets of this ancient kingdom. In the distance, shimmering under the heat of the sun, lies the grand royal palace, its walls adorned with intricate carvings, rising from the earth like a fortress of stone and tradition. Rivers, flowing gently through the land, weave between the villages and farmlands, nourishing the people and their dreams. It is here that our story begins. A kingdom proud in its heritage, yet hiding secrets deep within its walls. Secrets that would soon unravel. In the vast and sun-drenched plains of Mali, where the baobab trees stand as ancient sentinels, a kingdom flourished, ruled by the mighty King Koita. But hidden deep within the walls of his grand palace was a tale of betrayal, sorrow, and a prince born into silence. A prince named Keita. Keita's mother, Sai, was not like the other concubines. Cold and calculating, her ambition knew no bounds. When she gave birth to Keita, she saw not her son, but a means to gain favor with the king. But when she discovered her son was deaf, her heart hardened. She sought to make him great, not out of love, but out of desperation, subjecting Keita to cruel and violent methods, molding him into a warrior, strategist, and intellectual. Keita grew up under her watchful eye, enduring the torment of servants and the isolation of never meeting his father. His mother's cruelty carved deep wounds in his soul. And when she bore another son, Kebe, who was born without any defects, she saw an opportunity to rid herself of Keita. Kebe would be her new hope, her perfect son. Keita, exiled from the palace at the tender age of 10, wandered the harsh lands beyond the kingdom's gates. His heart was full of pain, anger, and confusion, but also a fierce determination to prove his worth. 15 years passed. Keita became a warrior, feared, respected, and admired by many. He commanded a company of mercenaries, known for turning the tides of any battle with his mere presence. His name was whispered across lands, though few knew the pain and betrayal that lay behind his hardened exterior. But then, the kingdom of his birth came under attack. A rival nation threatened its borders, and the mighty warriors of King Koita were failing. Desperate, the king summoned the strongest warrior in the region, the exiled prince, though unaware that Keita was his son. Keita refused. "You are under my command," the king's messenger declared. "I answer to no one," Keita replied coldly. But the king and Keita's own mother, Si, traveled to Keita's camp, hoping to persuade him. Si, now the king's favorite concubine, had long forgotten her firstborn son. Her second son, Kebe, was now poised to inherit the throne, despite his hidden darkness, a cruel nature that had already dishonored many young women, with his mother covering up his misdeeds. When Keita saw his mother, she did not recognize him. But for Keita, a flame of vengeance that had been buried deep within his soul began to ignite. Now 25 years old, Keita stood before his father, his voice steady, masking his fury. "With your 10 sons, surely you can protect your kingdom," Keita said, mocking. "Have they not all completed their coming-of-age rites? Or do you not wish for them to fight?" The king replied with sorrow, "I have only 7 sons now. One was lost 15 years ago, swept away by the river. He was the son of this concubine," he said, gesturing to sea. Keita's heart clenched. His father did not know that it was he, Keita, who had been cast out. The king continued, "2 others died in a bloody feud. Many of my sons are not capable. If you wish, you may use them in battle to prove their worth." Keita accepted, his mind now set on revenge, not only against his enemies but against those who had wronged him. Keita led the king's armies and crushed the rival nation within 2 years. 3 of his half-brothers perished in battle, leaving only 4. Among them, Kebe survived, cunning and ruthless, but alive. After the war, during a grand banquet to celebrate their victory, Keita stood before the king, the nobles, and the entire court. The time had come to reveal the truth. He declared, "I am the prince cast out by my mother Sai. I have lived outside the palace for 15 years, exiled from my birthright." The court fell silent. The king, bewildered, demanded proof. Keita reached into his cloak and produced a royal pendant, a symbol of his birthright and the dagger that all royal sons received upon birth. The court gasped. Keita then exposed the cruelty of his mother, Sai, her manipulations, and her betrayal. Sai, desperate, screamed, "My son was deaf. You are not deaf." Keita, his voice dripping with sarcasm, replied, "Thanks to your harsh lessons, I learned to read lips and hide my condition, but everyone in my company knows the truth." Sai demanded that Keita undergo tests to prove his deafness. They subjected him to excruciatingly loud sounds, enough to make most men faint. But Keita remained unfazed, proving his condition beyond doubt. Sai was exposed. The exiled prince now stood before the court not as an outcast, but as a legitimate heir. Keita demanded his rightful place in the line of succession. His deeds as a mercenary and his victories in battle had already proven his worth. But Kebi, the younger brother, would not allow it. He too had ambitions for the throne. Keita then revealed the dark secrets of Kebi, the dishonor of many young maidens, and how their fates were covered up by Sea. Gage, enraged, demanded a duel to the death to settle their dispute. Clashing swords, fierce battle sounded. The duel was brutal, but in the end, Keita emerged victorious. He stood over his fallen brother, but chose not to kill him. Instead, he turned to the king. "I ask that Kebi and Sai be put on trial and executed for their crimes." But Queen Sisse, the mother of the two princes who had died in the feud, intervened. "The people need someone to blame for the war and the suffering that followed. Let them suffer the wrath of the people. Keep them alive, imprisoned, humiliated, and tormented by those they wronged." She, too, sought vengeance for her lost sons, who had been led astray by Sai's manipulations. Her only two sons, who had killed each other in a jealous fight because Sai seduced them both. The king, torn but swayed by the queen's logic, agreed. With sound of chains clinking, Sai and Kibe were cast into a public prison, where they were at the mercy of the people. 5 years later, after the king's peaceful death, Keita ascended the throne. His reign brought peace, stability, and prosperity to the kingdom. But one final act remained. On the day he was crowned, Keita ordered the execution of both his mother and brother, ending their legacy of deceit. From that day forward, the kingdom flourished, and Keita, once abandoned, ruled as the warrior king. His heart no longer filled with anger, but with the wisdom born of pain, perseverance, and justice. The message of Keita, the abandoned warrior, is that true greatness is not determined by one's circumstances or physical limitations, but by inner strength, resilience, and the ability to rise above betrayal and pain. The story also underscores the dangers of unchecked ambition and cruelty, reminding us that those who harm others for personal gain will ultimately face the consequences of their actions.